Jung and Tarot, An Archetypal Journey by Sallie Nichols. The tarot is a mysterious deck of cards of unknown origin. At least 6 centuries old, this deck is the direct ancestor of our modern playing cards. Down through the generations, the figures depicted on these cards have enjoyed many incarnations. It is a testimony to the vitality and wisdom of the ancient tarot that, although it had spawned such an active child as the playing cards we use today, the parent's deck itself did not retire. In Central Europe, these quaint tarot cards have remained in constant use for gambling and fortune-telling. Now in America, the tarot has suddenly surfaced into public consciousness. Like the puzzling figures which pop up unexpectedly in our dreams, these tarot characters seem to cry out for our attention. Dramatic eruptions of this kind usually mean that neglected aspects of ourselves seek recognition. No doubt, like our dream figures, the tarot personalities have intruded themselves into our complacency in order to bring us messages of great import. But modern man, steeped as he is in a verbal culture, finds the nonverbal picture language of the tarot difficult to decipher. In the following chapters, we shall explore ways to approach these mysterious figures and catch sparks of understanding. A journey through the tarot cards is primarily a journey into our own depths. Whatever we encounter along the way is an enfant, an aspect of our own deepest and highest self. For the tarot cards, originating as they did at a time when the mysterious and irrational had more reality than they do today, bring us an effective bridge to the ancestral wisdom of our innermost selves. And new wisdom is the great need of our time. Wisdom to solve our own personal problems, and wisdom to find creative answers to the universal questions which confront us all. Like our modern cards, the tarot has 4 suits with 10 pip or numbered cards in each suit. With 4 tarot suits, the 4 tarot suits are called wands, cups, swords, and coins. These have evolved into our present suit of clubs, hearts, spades, and diamonds. In the tarot deck, each suit has 4 court cards: king, queen, jack, and knight. The latter, a dashing young cavalier mounted on a spirited horse, has mysteriously disappeared from today's playing cards. The handsome knight, pictured here, is taken from an Austrian transition deck, meaning a design which falls historically somewhere between the original tarot cards and our modern deck. As we see, the vitality of this knight was such that he persisted in the deck after his suit had already changed from coins to diamonds. Figure 1 is a knight of diamonds. That this symbol of single-minded purpose, courtliness, and courage should have disappeared from today's playing cards may indicate a lack of these qualities in our present-day psychology. The knight is important because we shall need his courage and questing spirit if our journey is to be a successful one. Equally significant, and certainly as mysterious, is the amputation from our modern deck of the tarot trumps, which are the cards that will be the landmarks for our journey. These trumps, sometimes called étapes, comprise a set of 22 picture cards which do not belong to any of the 4 suits. Each of these cards bears an intriguing name: the Magician, the Empress, the Lover, Justice, the Hanged Man, the Moon, and so forth. And the cards are numbered. Arranged in sequence, the trumps seem to tell a picture story. It will be the focus of this book to examine the 22 trumps in sequence and to puzzle out the story that they tell. Like the alchemical mutus liber, which incidentally appear later, the trumps can be viewed as a silent picture text representing the typical experiences encountered along the age-old path to self-realization. How and why such subject matter found its way into the tarot, which was and still is essentially a deck of playing cards, is a mystery that has puzzled generations of scholars. Only one vestige of the trumps remains in our modern playing cards: the Joker. This odd fellow who leads such an elusive life in every pack of cards is a direct descendant of a tarot trump called the Fool, with whom we will soon become acquainted. Theories about the origin of this Fool and his 21 companion trumps are various and fanciful. Some imagine that these cards represent the secret stages of initiation in an esoteric Egyptian cult. Others maintain, and this with more historical probability, that the trumps are of Western European origin. Several reputable scholars, among whom A.E. Waite and Henrik Zimmer, suggest that the trumps were concocted by the Albigenses, a Gnostic sect which flourished in Provence in the 12th century. It is felt that they were probably smuggled into the tarot as a veiled communication of ideas at variance with the established church. One contemporary writer, Paul Husson, views the tarot's origin as a mnemonic device used chiefly in necromancy and witchcraft. Another contemporary writer, Gertrude Moakley, pioneered the ingenious theory that the trumps are of exoteric origin, being simply adaptations of illustrations from a book of Petrarch's sonnets to Laura. This book was called I Triomphi, a title which translates both as The Triumphs and The Trumps. And Petrarch's sonnets, a series of allegorical characters, each fought and triumphed over the preceding one. This theme, a popular one in Renaissance Italy, was the subject of many paintings of the period. It was also dramatized in pageants in which these allegorical figures, elaborately costumed, paraded around the castle courtyards in decorative chariots, accompanied by knights on horseback in full regalia. Such parades, called carousels, are the origin of our modern merry-go-round. On today's carousels, while children play at being brave knights riding handsome steeds, their grandparents can enjoy a more sedate ride in a golden chariot. Figure 2, the chariot. Figure 2 shows tarot number 7, the chariot, as pictured in a 15th century commemorative deck designed and executed by the artist Bonifacio Bambo, the Sforzo family of Milan. These elegant cards, some of which can be seen in the Pierpont Morgan Library in New York, are painted and illuminated in brilliant colors on a diapered background of gold over red with touches of silver. It's good to recall that such triumphal cards as the one pictured here are still an important feature of Italian festivals, and that the delighted rocking horse spirit of its horses remains forever on parade in our modern carousel. Actually, very little is known about the history of the tarot cards or about the origin and evolution of the suit designations and the symbolism of the 22 trumps. But the many imaginative hypotheses as to the card's inception and the numerous visions and revisions inspired by their pictorial symbology attest to their universal appeal and demonstrate their power to activate the human imagination. For the purposes of our study, it matters little whether the tarot trumps spring from the Albigensis' love of God or Petrarch's passion for Laura. The essence of their importance for us is that they are very real and transforming human emotion must have brought them to birth. It seems apparent that these old cards were conceived deep in the guts of human experience, at the most profound level of the human psyche. It's this level in ourselves that they will speak. Since it's the aim of this book to use the tarot as a means of getting in touch with this level of the psyche, we have chosen as the basis for discussion the NARRATED tarot, one of the oldest designs available today. Playing cards being perishable, the original tarot no longer exists, and the few remnants of the old decks still preserved in museums do not correspond exactly with any pack currently in print. Thus, no present-day tarot can be called in any sense authentic. But the Marseille version, in general, preserves the feeling, tone, and style of some of the earliest designs. There are other reasons for choosing the Marseille deck. First, its design transcends the personal. There's no evidence, for example, that it was created by one individual, as are most of contemporary tarot decks. And second, again, unlike most contemporary tarot decks, the Marseille deck comes to us unaccompanied by an explanatory text. Instead, it offers us simply a picture story, a song without words which can haunt us like some old refrain evoking buried memories. This is not the case with contemporary tarot decks, most of which were devised by a known individual or group, and many of which are accompanied by books in which the authors set forth in words the abstruse ideas which they have presumably presented in picture cards. This is the example with the cards and texts created by A.E. Waite, Aleister Crowley, Zane, and Paul Foster Case. Although the text which accompanies the tarot in such cases is usually introduced as an elucidation of the symbols portrayed on the cards, the net effect is that of an illustrated book. In other words, it's as if the tarot cards were devised as illustrations for certain verbal concepts, rather than that the cards erupted spontaneously first, and the text was inspired by them. As a result, the personalities and objects pictured in these cards seems more allegorical in character than symbolic. The pictures appear to illustrate verbalized concepts rather than suggesting feelings and insights wholly beyond the reach of words. The difference between a tarot deck accompanied by a text and the Marseille deck, which stands alone, is a subtle one, but it is important in terms of our approach to the tarot. To our way of thinking, it's the difference between reading an illustrated book and walking into an art gallery. Both are valuable experiences, but they are quite different in their effect. The illustrated book stimulates intellect and empathy, connecting us with the insights and feelings of others. The art gallery stimulates imagination, forcing us to dip down into our own creativity and experience for amplification and understanding. Another difficulty with some tarot decks is that a number of these have affixed to the trumps extraneous symbols borrowed from other systems, implying that there is an exact correlation between the trumps and other theological or philosophical theories. For example, in some decks, each of the trumps is marked with one of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet in an attempt to connect each trump symbolically with one of the 22 paths of the Kabbalistic Sephiroth. But there exists no uniform agreement as to which Hebrew letters belong to which tarot. Commentators have also affixed alchemical, astrological, Rosicrucian, and other symbols to the tarot. Here also confusion reigns, as one can see by contrasting the ideas of Case, Zane, Pappas, and Hall in this regard. Since all symbolic material derives from a level of human experience which is common to all mankind, it is, of course, true that valid connections can be made between some of the tarot symbols and those of other systems. But this deep layer of psyche, which C.G. Jung termed the unconscious, is by definition not conscious. Its images do not derive from our ordered intellect, but rather in spite of it. They do not present themselves in a logical manner. Each philosophical system is merely an attempt on the part of the intellect to create a logical order out of the seeming chaos of imagery arising from the unconscious. Intellectual categories are a way of systemizing our experience of this nonverbal world. Each is a kind of grid system, superimposed, if you like, over the raw experience of our most profound human nature. Each such system is useful, and in that sense, each one is true, but each is unique. Viewed one by one, these various patterns offer us convenient pigeonholes for organizing psychic experiences. But to superimpose these mini grids, one atop the other, would be to distort their symmetry and destroy their usefulness. Lest through such confusion we lose our way in the trumps, we make no attempt in this book to correlate the tarot symbolism with that of other disciplines. For the most part, we shall confine our discussion to the trumps as they appear in the Marseille deck, picturing other versions of the cards only when these seem to offer insights that enrich their meaning. We shall try, as Jung did with symbolic material, to amplify by analogy, leaving the symbol's ultimate meaning, as always, free and open-ended. In defining the scope of a symbol, Jung often stressed the difference between a symbol and a sign. A sign, he said, denotes a specific object or idea which can be translated into words. E.g., a striped pole means a barber shop, and X is a railroad crossing. A symbol stands for something which can be presented in no other way, and whose meaning transcends all specifics and includes many seeming opposites, e.g., the Sphinx, the cross, etc. The pictures on the tarot trumps tell a symbolic story. Like our dreams, they come to us from a level beyond the reach of consciousness and far removed from our intellectual understanding. It seems appropriate, therefore, to behave towards these tarot characters pretty much as we would if they had appeared to us in a series of dreams picturing a distant, unknown land inhabited by strange creatures. With such dreams, purely personal associations are of limited value. We can best connect their meaning through analogy with myths, fairy tales, drama, paintings, events in history, and any other material with similar motifs which universally evoke clusters of feelings, intuitions, thoughts, or sensations. Since the symbols pictured in the tarot are ubiquitous and ageless, the usefulness of these amplifications will not be confined to this book. The tarot figures, in various guises, are ever present in our lives. By night they appear in our sleep, to our mystification and wonder, and by day they inspire us to creative action or play tricks with our logical patterns. We hope that the material presented here will help us to connect with our dreams, not only with those which come to us at night, but with the hopes and dreams of our daylight hours as well.